Hello. Now that we have considered the background of the case, let us move into the core debate. And before I begin, I'm not supporting any of the arguments, but this is only to provide better information for your informed decision making. So, looking at the temple in exclusivity, you understand that there are not many temples, hardly a few of them which has certain restrictions on the entry of men or women, but otherwise a temple is a place where equality is respected. So let us not stereotype or let us not generalize the entire Hindu culture looking at one particular temple. That's one aspect. And number two, at that temple, at Sabarimala particularly, Lord Ayyappa is supposed to be a Naishikta Brahmachari, which means he is in the state of eternal celibacy. Of course, there are other temples where women might be allowed, but here we have a particular form or we have a particular image of the god where he has his own right. Even some people are invoking Article 21, which applies to Lord Ayyappa himself, so right to his own privacy, right to his own celibacy. So I'm not again legalizing this aspect. This is very sensitive aspect. But what I'm trying to tell you is that let us not bring everything under equality, the bracket of equality. For example, the way we perform very certain, very basic bodily functions is very different for men and women. And most importantly, when you're talking about the concept of brahmacharya, it is mostly focused on men because men at least have the option, if not the right, men at least have the option to control their bodily fluids, semen. The case with women is a bit different. Biologically, they go through menstrual cycles. So every month their semen is discharged. So the core concept of brahmacharya has a lot to do with restricting your discharges. So of course, I'm not denying women cannot be brahmacharis, but in a larger scale, in the larger context, emphasis has been given to men. So here it is not about discretion, but these are the very basic and very practical biological aspects. Number two, if you look at the trail which takes to Sabarimala, it is right in the heart of the Periyar Tiger Reserve, and at one point of time, men encountered face-to-face encounters with many of the wild animals. So one aspect, according to the legend, is that women, it would be too much enduring for the women for them to take over the journey of 41 days restraining themselves. And even if you look at that, most of the men would be walking bare chested. So keeping all these aspects practically, women themselves restrain. And most importantly, at the entrance of the temple, this is according to the legend, at the entrance of the temple there is a goddess which is related to Ayyappa. The legend says that she proposed to Lord Ayyappa, and Lord Ayyappa has rejected the proposal, saying that he wants to remain a permanent brahmachari or an eternal celibate. So in this context, women themselves restrained from entering into the temple because they want to respect the goddess, because she has been waiting for Ayyappa to marry her since a very long time. And here this story is debatable, but understand that the whole concept of existence of God is debatable. When you don't want to believe this concept, when you don't want to believe the story, when you don't want to believe the legend behind the existence of the God, so there is no point, there is no business for somebody to enter the temple, because the entire structure, the entire temple is just a belief. Nobody can convince you, nobody can make you believe that this concept of God exists logically. So if you want to believe something, so believe the whole story, not whatever is convenient for you. So these are some of the aspects which are pertaining to entry of women into Sabarimala temple. And again, I am not at all giving any judgment, and I'm not at all disrespecting the Supreme Court's judgment, but at a larger context, I'm just worried because of the fact that we are trying to bring everything under the scanner of women empowerment, everything under the scanner of women equality. These are things which are pretty much beyond that ambit, and I believe it needs a wider discussion because it's a direct hit on our religious faith. And also understand that there are many religious groups and many vested parties, and for that particular reason, my question is, when you're talking about women equality, I want to understand why there is not a women pope yet. So if a particular religion is so obsessed with women, let them stand as an example, let them do what they're actually preaching. So they are using this as a practical, or as a practical tool to malign or to create more controversy about a particular religion. So this has taken a different shape. This has been backed up by some vested parties. So here is what we have today regarding the entry of women. So if you have any further concerns, if you have any further thoughts or opinions, please shoot your opinions to us. We will follow it up with further discussions. So once again, thank you for listening to us. Thank you very much. Namaskaram.